Today, yesterday when I had a meeting, the button wasn't there. Oh, but it's there today, so I'm so thankful. Oh, never a dull moment in our lives. Is
Oh, there isn't.
It's good to see everybody. Well, as many people.
Yes, it is good.
We have a lot of people on the line, which is great. So I'm glad that we're going to be talking about this subject because it's important, especially from what's happening right now. So I'm just going to give people another minute or two to hop on and join us.
I'm going to type the notes, and I know there's going to be a lot. So when I'm typing, I'm going to shut my camera off, not because I don't want to see you all, but it's because I'm all up in the camera.
We'll miss you so much. So make sure you pop in every once in a while.
Oh, I will. I will.
Okay.
And just to let everybody know, we do have an intern who's joining us today, Clara Williams. And so if you see somebody's name, she's not a new nutrition director. She's an intern from UW Health. So.
Thank you. So it is 2 o'clock. So to respect everybody's time, I'm just going to quick get started. Just a couple introductions because I feel like we did ask caterers, vendors, food companies to join us on this call. So I just want to start off by kind of saying who we are and what we're going to do today. So first of all, welcome to the peer sharing call. We're excited to see all your happy faces. Happy fall, I believe. I think it's the day after fall begins. So anyway, here in Madison, it's a beautiful day. Sadly, we all have to be in our offices, but welcome again. So I'm Jean Lynch. I'm with GWAR, that is the Greater Wisconsin Agency on Aging Resources here in Madison. And myself and Pam Van Kampen and Lori Fernandez make up the nutrition team. And our jobs are to provide technical assistance and oversight to the 70 counties and the 11 tribes. So that's a little bit about who we are and who's moderating the call. And as you all know, you're part of the Nutrition Network. So excited you're all with us. With this call, what we really wanted to do when we set out talking about this particular subject of food shortages and different things that are happening in the network, we really want you to be engaged because we're taking these notes. We want to know what's happening in the network. We want to determine what the problem is. We're definitely not saying that we've got answers today, but what we want to do is kind of work together as a team and to provide some strategies to help all of you in the network deal with the shortage issues. So that's sort of what the call is. So the more interaction we have, the more information we'll get. We'll be able to kind of digest all that and maybe hopefully come up with some strategies, work with the different vendors to see how we can solve some of this stuff. So that's sort of what our agenda is today. And I have a couple emails to get the ball rolling, but I just kind of want to open it up. And if anybody who's brave today would like to just speak up and get us started on what's happening in your program with shortages and different things going on with food. Oh, again, you can use chat if you're more comfortable using the chat. We have that open and Lori is monitoring that. So feel free to hop on the chat and provide some comments.
And this is Tanya with Richland.
Hi, Tanya.
Hi, we had to get creative with chicken cordon bleu. We couldn't get that in. So our cooks actually did a layered chicken cordon bleu bake. So anyone else has ideas like that, that's great because we're letting our cooks know of any ideas that you guys think of as well to get creative to come up with stuff instead of giving processed foods if we can avoid it. But it's getting really hard for them to get products in for sure.
Thank you, Tanya. Thanks for sharing that.
Jean, we had Lynn put in the chat that in Monroe County, whole grain breads have been a problem getting. Anybody else had that problem with whole grain breads? It's funny how I know Winnebago County said that they were having trouble with chicken breasts also.
Yeah, we're also having problems. Our caterer that helps us, they couldn't get the meatballs in either.
And I'm sorry, who was that?
I'm sorry, Dawn from Winnebago County.
Oh, hi, Dawn. Also,
Hi.
you know, do you know why that's been happening? Do you have any ideas? Is the vendor or caterer, you know, talking about why that's an issue?
If what?
You know why that's happening, or you know are they giving you time frames or anything like that?
Yeah, it's just that the lead times to get the stuff is not coming in right. Like they're doing their regular ordering or sometimes holding on stuff. If they know they can get stuff, they hold it in, but the lead times are getting longer and longer to get the stuff in.
Okay, thank you very much.
So Dawn, what are they substituting then when they can't get the chicken breast?
The chicken breast, they did do a breaded chicken because it was a last minute thing that they didn't know what was happening. They did chicken nuggets, but that did not turn out good at all. But the meatballs, they did a like a Salisbury steak instead of the meatballs. So they're just trying to get kind of creative, but there isn't too much you can do. Diced chicken has also been something that they have used.
Interesting.
Okay, Jean, I have more in the chat again. Heather from Oneida said Oneida County has been having problems getting bone-in chicken at times. So sounds like that chicken's been hard. More than one county. This looks like it's going statewide. Mel, Harvey, we have had some delays in proteins, which results in last-minute menu changes.
Mhm.
Some of the participants were upset because it was not what they signed up for. Understand that, Mel. And then Taylor said in Clark County, we have had shortages with chicken and turkey. Is anybody else seeing turkey shortages, or maybe you're not serving that all the time?
This is Dawn from Winnebago County. We haven't seen anything with turkey yet.
This is Missy from Washburn County. The only issues that we've been seeing is with some pork products and with containers, but that's not food. But we reached out to our local, well, not real local, but Genio Turkey. So we have a stockpile of turkey. So when we are able to if we chicken, we can substitute turkey. Or we have a good relationship with our local grocery store. So if our supplier does not provide us with the product, usually I can call them and they'll get us pork or something to use as a substitute.
Thank you, Missy. I'm interested too. You said the packaging was hard to get as well.
We have had an issue with getting dark containers from Reinhardt. So even one time they subbed them with the containers but no lids. So they had to do a special drop in order to use them. So we're using 8-ounce containers for a half-cup serving, which is kind of a waste. I was able to find some 4-ounce containers from Web Restaurant, but you cannot find 6-ounce containers anywhere.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that.
Hi, this is Kathy. We have the same problem with the containers. We can't get the 6-ounce, so we've actually been getting the 8-ounce from Barron is getting them for us, and we have a volunteer bringing them over. Since we can't get the 8-ounce, either the smallest we can get is 12-ounce from Cisco. And, you know, we even tried getting from because there's the warehouse for Indian Head in Eau Claire, and I go that way for appointments sometimes, and they didn't have anything either. They don't have them either. And some of the other places we've tried. We haven't had we've had trouble with the chicken a little bit, but we were fortunate. Like one time it just didn't show up at all. And there's like, well, it didn't come to us, so how can we get it to you? And they didn't warn us. And so we ended up, luckily we had chicken wings frozen, so we were able to substitute that. But we've given notice to all of our ones that, you know, it always says on our menu that subject to we can supplement or change. Of course, we don't tend to change the main thing. It might be a side thing. We don't tend to change it all if we can help it, but we've had to pretty much for all summer to substitute the fruit, whatever was scheduled wasn't necessarily what they got, because we couldn't get applesauce for 2 months at all. And then when we finally did, it was just like a case, which is not enough.
Yeah.
And because we also do jail meals too. And
Right.
so luckily for the summer, we've been able to get from the local vendors fresh fruit. But that is getting really pricey right now. And then we were able to work with our vendor and kind of get a double order on the fruit, because what they're doing, or what they told us, is that they don't have enough people to load the trucks. And so they're getting whatever they can get loaded, and whoever they can finish is who's getting done. And then they send us a notice as of September 1st, on the 31st of August, that starting September 1st, if they can't get your stuff loaded, you won't, because they used to, at least if they didn't have it then, you could get it later in the week or something, or at least part of it, or they would make some adjustments. And they're saying, nope, you'll have to wait till your next scheduled drop, which would be for us a week later. So that was really quite scary. So then we talked with them, and they looked at what was they could see was on hand. And so we've been trying to order what we know they can load pretty easy, and then trying to get the other stuff local. So like if they only can have so much space or much time for it, and we know we can get bananas at Quick Trip, we've been working with Quick Trip to get the bananas cheaper. And even though, so that we can have the extra space for the extra cans of fruit that we need to make sure we have enough to get us through, which to us isn't really extra, it's our normal, but what they're counting as extra. And trying to do some things that way. And we also had 2 weeks where we didn't get milk.
Okay, that's one of the
But
things.
luckily, since we do the jail meals, they have a drop at the jail, and then they have the drop with us. So our milk didn't come, but the jail milk did. And they worked with us where we were able to get local gallons, and they could just pour it into the cups. And then we took their cases for our seniors, so they still got their milk. But it's been interesting, and it's been a juggle.
Thanks, Kathy, for sharing that. I think there's some things that we can, maybe that Pam or Lori can remember, that we can talk about is also the substitution piece of this too, because it's not just the shortage piece, but you brought up 2 really good points, which is the substitution, how to handle that, and also how do you deal with the participants when these things are happening, right? And they're upset because what they signed up to get, they didn't get. So thanks, Kathy, for sharing that. Is there anybody else that maybe wants to comment on the different types of food that they're not getting, or that they seem to have a shortage with?
This is
Jean,
Nancy from Washburn County.
There's a list in the chat, but go ahead.
I just wanted to mention that we did have a few milk issues, and I did ask Quick Trip. You can get cartons of milk through Quick Trip. Just for people to know, you just have to order. Usually they said the day before, but it was a backup plan for me.
Awesome. It's nice to know that, you know, as you all know, if you heard, we're working with Quick Trip currently to kind of work out some deals as far as meals, but it's really nice to know that you are partnering with those people in your community that can help with that. So that's thank you for sharing that. Okay, I see in chat that people have put in about the pie and different things that they don't have the containers, which is interesting. So great. If you guys, if you wouldn't mind, just if there are some items that you're really not getting or shortage, I think the other piece of this too is to kind of connect the vendors as well. So, you know, Cisco, Reinhardt, is this a one kind of vendor thing? Is it all of them? I'd be interested to hear from the people who are having shortages, so that we can kind of look at the problem, you know, which vendors they're using. I think that would be very helpful if everybody would take a minute to maybe address that.
Okay, I wanted to comment on what she was saying about Quick Trip and milk. We tried doing that here, but their milk was a lot bigger and a lot more expensive. So it was cost prohibitive for us to do that. They couldn't get it the next day. It was like 3 days for us, which would have been, we get it on Wednesday, which would have made us not make it through that week anyway.
Yeah, okay.
But I don't know if you had the same thing, Melissa, or was it more like the regular sized milk for you?
I just had asked them, in an emergency situation, they just said that if I ordered their truck, you know, the truck comes to Spooner every day, and if I got it there, my order to them the prior morning, I could get it the next day. I'm not sure on the cost. I didn't look into that. But usually they're pretty good, reasonable as far as anything else, because we had worked with them on other.
Yeah, they've been great to work with, and, but just the size that they could get us was almost double in the size that we currently give out, and then it was, of course, double in price.
These
So
were just the normal cartons they said they could get for me.
Yeah, and ours
Nice.
didn't have that when we checked. But good to know, though. Thank you. We can always ask again.
All right. Jean, should I go through the list that's in the chat?
Yeah, and that'd be great.
There's quite a list. Okay, so Shannon from Dane said chicken and fish have been a challenge. Even my restaurant sites have needed to make changes to avoid offering chicken-based dishes. So again, I love that idea, Jean, of trying to tie it to see which distributors, or is it just statewide, which I would imagine, but good idea. And then Kimberly Swanson said our vendor shared with us today that he can't get enough employees, so he's having to make menu changes as well. Let me see, Kim. Our caterers said they have been okay since our menus are planned in advance, but their vendors are telling them that they are expecting more shortages as it gets closer to the holidays. Mike, same for Waukesha County, Reed Chicken. Caterer has been using chicken strips or diced. Cannot get on the bone. Roast beef is apparently very expensive as well. Had to go to Walmart for carry out 3 compartment containers. Tammy, what about Badger Wholesale out of Green Bay? So Tammy, what about them? Have they been giving you better finding things for you, or have they been short? Shannon, again, how many containers of milk can Quick Trip supply you with, Missy? Did they say? And something else to note, Tanya Webster, something else to note with Quick Trip is that if you hit a certain amount with Quick Trip, they will give a bulk order discount. Okay, for us, a 3-day lead time. Cool to know. Tammy, Clark County uses Martin Brothers, Reinhardt, and Indian Head. We have had troubles with chicken and turkey, some fruits like strawberries. Kathy uses Cisco. Kathy Walters, Lynn Edwards, Reinhardt, now Performance Foods. Oh, Reinhardt.
Oh, did it change its name?
Is not did you switch companies, Lynn Edwards, or did the name switch?
No, the name switched. Sorry, it's Reinhardt's now called Performance Foods.
Okay.
That's about a year and a half
And,
ago. So.
Oh, okay. And Missy uses Reinhardt also.
Okay. Okay, well, that is great. Thank you, everybody who contributed to that. So it sounds like it's, you know, a couple of them out there that are kind of having the issues. So I know that, just to add to the conversation, Cecile from Sun sent an email just stating that they were having a hard time with Cisco trying to get 6-ounce foam containers, getting 8-ounce. And also her restaurants have said they can't get fish. So that's kind of interesting too. I don't know if anybody else has had that issue. But we're able to sub some different things for it. So yeah, that's kind of what I had in mind. I don't know if Pam and Lori had some different ones that they want to share as well.
This is Tammy from Forest. We use Badger Wholesale to get our paper products. Granted, right now we stocked up about a month and a half ago because the courthouse is under renovation. So we knew that getting products were going to be difficult. But at that time, I was able to get the 6-ounce containers. So that might be another option for those of you who are in that area, because I know their delivery is kind of, you know, they go to a bigger area. So it's not just Forest and, you know, Marinette and stuff like that. So you guys may want to check with them.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
And Kimberly Swanson put in there, her Schilling Supply in La Crosse hasn't had 6-ounce containers for at least 2 months.
Awesome. Okay, this is all good stuff that we can kind of use to kind of break down where the issues are and come up with some strategies. I'm wondering if anybody else has had issues with fish. I'm just interested in that. Anybody else?
A few have mentioned it, Jean. it in the notes.
Great. Well, thank you everybody for sharing that really valuable information. I'd like to kind of move on to some things that kind of affect this, and one of them might be the substitution piece. So I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing either in the chat or shouting out about kind of what you're doing when this hits your program. So if your caterer or vendor is saying that they can't get food, is there enough lead time? I mean, is it happening on the day that you're supposed to be cooking and serving the meal? Kind of sharing those types of issues that are happening in the network.
Jean, from a travel standpoint, we do cater, we're a full-on commercial kitchen. So when we plan our meals, we try to get a product that will sustain us to 2 or 3 meals. Then we don't fall into that shortage of any product. Luckily, we have a fish market here on the reservation that we utilize along with other programs. Food distribution has given us help with shortages as far as like produce. My rep is really good from Reinhardt or Performance. Says a heads up, this will be shortage this week, so we can kind of curtail our ordering to each substitution, if we will, or either one product won't be available, that sort of thing. And then on our menus, we do state subject to change without notice. So oftentimes we'll get calls, well, what is the meal today? Is there a change? We still get the recommended number that we get, and including our home route. So we're pretty started up on product as far as paper products, but it's becoming a shortage. And the rep that I use said there's a lot coming our way.
Thank you, Anna, for sharing that. It's very valuable. Thank you.
And another piece was we would get products from other places, like Miss Picks, and he said that's becoming a product within the warehouse.
Oh, okay. So deeper down into
Yep.
how this all works. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
This is Dawn from Winnebago County. We've been working with Canteen where if they get a shortage in, or sometimes they let us know the day before, sometimes not. We have a lot of people that have the meals. What we try and do is the drivers will tell if it's real short, the drivers will tell our participants when they're delivering it. But the certain people that we know that are the main problem, I'm not saying problems, the main people that we think would call and complain the most, we call them actually and give them a heads up instead of just having the driver tell them.
Nice. Great. Thank you very much.
Does anybody else have strategies that they have used, maybe sending out a letter? I know that drivers, you can tell your drivers there might be substitutions, but has anybody sent out a letter to their people that there might be substitutions without notice?
This is Lynn from Monroe County. The nutrition services person did send that out to the customer to let him know that there have been a lot of shortages and that to expect it. We'd let him know, and that we're doing the best we can. And that was sent out last week. So I think we're ahead of the game, and I think they've been appreciative of knowing that anyway.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Sure.
Here in Clark County,
Sure.
This is Taylor. We did send out a letter to all of our home delivered meal participants stating the shortages. So if there would be a substitution, it's due to that. And if we usually know ahead of time, so I make up a little slip for the drivers to give our folks so they can see it on paper that, yep, today it's going to be this instead of this. So we do give them enough notice so they can prepare for that.
Awesome. Thank you. And I know some of the counties and the tribes also put that on their menu as well, that they're allowed to substitute. So I think that's a good idea if you don't have that currently, is to maybe add that so that people are aware. I also think it's kind of not a bad idea to share that with your participants, that, maybe in a newsletter article or something that you're thinking about, maybe that there are some shortages in the industry and that you're working, on trying to figure that out, but please be patient, maybe just giving them a heads up.
All right, I got another list in chat here. So Heidi said, we sent out a note about 2 weeks ago and it was well received. Heather from Oneida, yes, Oneida has been sending out those notices. Mel, we have a disclaimer on our monthly menu and we have also sent out notices. Reinhardt has been sending weekly notices on shortages, so we are aware before ordering. That's really nice, Missy. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, on our menu as well, says Taylor. Anna, will notes from the meetings be sent via email. I have to say goodbye. I must leave for a doctor. Yes, of course we will, Anna. That's why Pam's taking notes. So we will send that out. Also, eventually it will get on the website. Thank you. She says, enjoy this beautiful day, everybody. From an email from our vendor. Let me see if I can find this. This was caused by the orange gelatin that I ordered to be delivered on Tuesday, among other things, was not delivered as Bearable Cisco canceled a number of delivery trucks because they are short-staffed and don't have enough pickers to get the trucks loaded in time. I am able to get the gelatin and other things from my Cisco order delivery today by another vendor. Sadly, we are in for shortages of many things as there are 46 container ships sitting off the coast of California, okay? Waiting to be unloaded at 2 points in California because of a shortage of dock workers and COVID restrictions. And I think that that's a double thing there. So for whatever reason that the chickens and fish are might not be out there, but there's also a shortage of workers that can deliver the food or deliver, yeah. Shannon, would you be willing to share the letter you sent to your meal recipients regarding the substitution? So if somebody could share that with us, share your letters, and then we will share them with everybody, if that's okay. All right, thank you. We're caught up. Thank you. You guys are great. Thank you for all your input.
Okay, anybody else on the substitution part, or maybe we want to keep moving on, but I just want to make sure that we kind of have some good ideas, and it sounds like you guys are doing a great job in, one, relaying those substitutions, and two, dealing with them. So thank you for that input. I think too, we kind of talked a little bit about how participants are affected by these shortages, and I think obviously that's one of the most important things that's why we do what we do, right? So is to provide a good meal and something that they look forward to. So I'm just wondering if anybody has anything that we can use as we look for strategies about how, I know there was a letter, things like that. Anything else that anybody else is doing as far as how you're dealing with the participants?
For us, I had each of the drivers talk to them and come back with any concerns that they had with what was going on, or if, what they said to them, just kind of shared it with me and our head cook, what was going on. And so like, they know on each route, like since we had the fruit issue all summer, we had one lady who really struggles with grapes. So if we were substituting for grapes, we'd try to still get her a canned fruit or something, just because we knew that she couldn't eat the grapes.
Nice.
Anyway, stuff
Nice.
like that. But we didn't send out surveys or anything like that. With the grab and goes, we had those site managers talk to them directly, and then each of them are monitoring. Not that we're making like a big adjustments. If it's what it's scheduled, then we don't adjust. But if we're substituting, we try to keep in mind the things that cause them problems.
Thanks, Kathy. That's really good insight. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think it's, again, maybe putting something in the newsletter, or, just letting them know that these are issues that you're having. I think, being honest up front is always a good thing. So thank you for sharing all that. I also know that Pam, I'm not sure if you're ready, that she's created, is that somebody's phone or is that my internet?
I don't know, but it's loud.
Yeah. If you're not speaking, can you please mute?
Hi, how are you?
Oh, okay, we can hear somebody.
Yep.
Okay.
You're live with about 50 people. So Pam, I don't know, I don't mean to put you on the spot. Would you be ready to share your worksheet with the group?
Sure, Jean, thank you. And as I'm pulling that up, one second, let me make you bigger. So I'm going to share that, but as I'm pulling that up, I just wanted to also plant the little seed that if you are seeing a big price increase, for example, I can tell you that, my husband works for a company that cans foods, and they have had a 75% increase in their cans. So that's across the board that either there's a tin shortage, which is a real thing. So anything that comes in a can, there's going to be a shortage. And also expect to see price increases across the board. So I'll be curious to hear about that. But I'm sharing my screen now, Jean, to get back to what I'm talking about. One thing that if you can one second, make a list of items that you are substituting. Let me pull up the right document so you don't see the minutes. Can you see this now, Jean? The
Yes,
form?
thank you.
Thank you, thank you. So Lynn Edwards contacted us, the beautiful and lovely, talented dietitian out of Monroe County. And so she was asking if there's a form like this to keep track of the menu substitutions. And we thought, oh, excellent idea. So we worked with her to put this form together. And this is not something that you're required to use, but it would be a great way, either if you're cooking on site or have vendors, caterers, for you to keep track of your food and or supplies that you're substituting out, keeping in mind that the dietitians per policy are supposed to be approving the menu substitutions or helping drive an equivalent replacement. You know, some people mentioned they had protein shortages. So we do have a one-page document that we can send out with the minutes and some more detailed too, that lists the substitutions for the various categories that are similar. You know, if they can't get their chicken or meat in, maybe they could provide at least peanut butter or something so that people are at least getting the 3 ounces of protein. But Lynn, I don't know if you want to speak to this at all, but I just want to let you guys know this form's available. If you want to use it, I think wonderful. It's a great way to track it. And then you can also add more columns if you want. You could use it to report to your boards. You could use it for quarterly or annual reports to show food cost increases. And Lynn, the one substitution you had to make for the hamburger and the brat, would you mind speaking on that a second?
Well, the brat, it actually was the type of brat that changed, and the substitution, as you can see, was 1,000 milligrams of sodium and 28 grams of fat. So it wasn't the best choice, but in a short decision-making time, it worked. One thing that and I just sent this to Dan today so that we could start using it, but I did get some of the logs from some of the sites yesterday. And what I noticed is that some of the site managers write down the menu for the week on those forms, which I didn't know. And so when I was looking at the form, I knew there was a substitution for a potato, and it said baked potato, but they actually got a potato chunk instead. And so I think where it put up a flag for me is that, so if you're going back and looking at some concerns, or maybe the customer says something and you actually look at those logs, it's really not correct. And so by using this form, you've actually got what actually was used, what wasn't used, because otherwise you're thinking that a baked potato was not a good choice and it was actually the potato chunk. Are you following me? It's kind of confusing if you don't. But
yeah, so it said baked potato on the menu, but they weren't actually giving a baked potato.
No, the substitution was a potato chunk.
Yep.
And so, yeah, that, and you know, I think too is that then when I reviewed the potato chunk, I couldn't do it at that moment, is that it was, well, actually I did it ahead of time, is that it was like 63% fat. And so they changed the recipe and they sent it with half the fat. In fact, I think it went down to 26% fat. And so then we followed up on it to find out what did the customer think, and they actually really liked it. So, you know, little things like that. But I think you have to have something that, so I'm looking at this as a twofold of being able to track. You've got the week to look at, and then kind of know, then you can go back and say, oh, why was this substituted every week? Do we need to look at a menu change? So you can use it in a lot of different ways. And what I've been doing is I've been getting the changes via email, and it's very confusing for me. And that's what prompted saying, okay, there's got to be an easier way to do it. So that's where this form kind of generated.
Thank you, Lynn. It's really helpful. And again, we don't want to stress all of you out, you know, with this, but we do want you to make aware that, you know, the nutrition. I'm curious too if people are eating these things like what you guys were talking about. If they're being sent things they don't like, are they actually eating it? And if they're not, we know that's not nourishing anyone. But so anyway, I'll be happy to hear feedback from this form, pros and cons. And again, it's just a tool that you could use. Back to you, Ms.
And Pam, we're going to include that in the notes, correct?
Yeah,
We'll put
I'll send it up. Yep.
Hey Pam, before you go, it's Kathy. With our fruit, we haven't marked that because it doesn't change anything for the dietitian, anything there. And like when we had to change like our meat, it was still chicken and they still got the same ounces. So like I can see like if you switch to a brat instead of like chicken, where the sodium would definitely need to be noted. But if it doesn't have sodium, or if you're changing one sodium product that's for the other, I mean, I don't see where you would necessarily note that, but I think this would be nice, but I don't think I would do it every day for the little things.
I wouldn't do it. Yeah, I would just have I would have the log at your sites, or with your caterer or with your cooks, and they can just write on it. It doesn't have to be daily. But like Lynn said, you could use it daily. There's different ways you can, but thank you, Kathy, for that. You know, like someone was talking about, they had a chicken breast and they got chicken nuggets instead. That would definitely be a difference, right?
Yeah, we're talking bone wings versus breast.
Right.
Where they
but
would
then,
have had the same
but then
amount of
again,
meat.
yes,
just
right.
Right.
And the equivalent, how many chicken wings equal 3 ounces?
Right.
That will
It's
be our
4.
segment for tonight.
At least 4 is what they get here.
Thank you so much for bringing this to our attention, and thank you, Lynn Edwards, for sharing this with us. The one thing I want to get out there too is that we did ask in the email, you know, to pass this call information on to your caterers and your vendors. I'm just wondering if there's any caterers or any vendors that are on today with us that might want to speak to, you know, the shortages or the substitutions. I just wanted to give them a little airtime, if there are any, by chance. Okay, sounds like there isn't. So that's fine. I just wanted to, you know, make their presence known if they were available, because I think it would be interesting to get their insight too about what's happening as far as the subject is concerned. The other thing too, and yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had something in the chat for Pam.
Okay.
Somebody asked if there have been any success stories with more vegetarian-based protein substitutions. So if anybody has ideas or if anybody else is working with that, Mel, what have you not been getting? What do you normally order that you're not getting for your vegetarians? So it'd be interesting. I mean, do you do tofu? Are you doing beans? Are you doing legumes, lentils? And what are you not getting that you normally would? And so then maybe you can help you with some substitutions. Pam, any ideas there?
Myself and Shannon, I'm going to loop Shannon Gabriel in too, because Dane County does have a vegetarian menu as well. So I'd be curious to see what Shannon says first. Great questions.
With the vegetarian options, I mean, we offer a meatless option every day. So we're using a lot of the soy crumbles in pasta dishes. It's very processed, of course, those meatless options, but we haven't had any troubles getting what we normally offer. So that has not been an issue for us at all.
Okay, great to hear, Shannon. And then Mel, is it mainly the beans, or what is the protein source specifically, like Lori was saying, that's short?
Oh, Pam, I haven't experienced any specific shortages, but seeing my colleagues here talking about chicken and turkey and beef, getting a little nervous. And so I was just curious if other folks had, you know, raving success stories with non-meat based protein items for sometimes a very traditional eating kind of community.
Oh, that's a great question, Mel. And it's really good to be thinking ahead, you know, especially now that there are more meatless options, you know, like burgers and such. Is that kind of where you're getting to? That there are more choices now. So what we can do, I myself, and I can run it by a couple dietitians, is put a list together of some meatless options that might, and work with some of the vendors, like have Justin to reach out and see what they have available as those meatless options. So in case, I know many people said, or some people I've talked to offline said hamburger has really increased significantly. So maybe they'd want to use some of these meatless options for the hamburgers if they're able to. I think it's a great point, Mel. Let's work on that. And if anybody does have anything, weigh in, please.
Good question.
Mhm.
Thank you. And then I just wanted to share, there was also an email from Jenny Fitzgerald up in Door County, and she had more of a question, and I think we've kind of spoke to this, but I just want to make sure her voice is heard because she couldn't be with us today. She wanted to know what sites coming up with, what are you coming up with alternative meals to serve if certain items do not come in, and announcing a menu change, or what are they going to do in place of menu changes? And I think we answered that a little bit. But I'd like to backtrack a little bit to that. You know, some of you spoke earlier on in the conversation that, you know, those substitutions were coming the day of. So it'd be interesting if anybody could just share, you know, that's happening. How, and I think somebody said, well, we had chicken wings in the freezer that we were able to serve. So I'm just wondering if there's any other thoughts as the nutrition team takes a look at this and plans some strategies that we want to share with you. Are there things that you are able to get that you are kind of, I know somebody said melt too, that you're kind of like, you know, stocking up on, or how is that working? I'm just wondering if anybody can speak to that.
I'd be interested too, if any of the cooking kitchen, if they plan ahead and do keep things like in cans or something like that, having worked in like nursing homes where you had to have 3 days worth of supplies. So maybe you could work this into your emergency plans where, yeah, I always have, you know, at least however many cases you need of fruit extra. And then if I do use that up, I reorder right away. So I always have something in stock. And would that
Right.
work for you? Or the green beans or the baked beans, or something, maybe even a canned protein. I know, like you said, for your emergency purposes, it's good to keep that because you never know if this is going to get worse, or like a snowstorm comes the day you thought you were going to have your delivery. If you can, you know, make something, a sandwich that day or a soup that day. So always have something in your back of the mind or written down, a plan written down of what you can sub if all of a sudden the caterer says, or you, it's like, oh, we didn't get our, you know, lunch meat or whatever that you have that you can store. So again, we would do that just to make sure that if we ever have problems.
And if that's something that you think of, you know, please share with your nutrition representative so that we can kind of add that. But good point, Lori. The other thing before we say goodbye is I want to talk a little bit about, in the email we talked about cost increases. So I think we're interested too to see, we talked about shortages and partnerships and what we're kind of doing, but just to throw out there kind of the cost piece of this, I'm interested to see what the network, how you're dealing with that and what things, I mean, obviously, I think we heard a little bit that packaging obviously is going up, things like that. Is there anything that you're seeing that kind of slowly creeping that you could share with your peers to maybe keep an eye for, or something that you see is kind of creeping up in price that maybe they could, you know, stock up on and still get at a reasonable price? I'd like to throw that out there too, if somebody wouldn't mind commenting on anything that's going on with that in the network.
Dawn, are you still on? Dawn had sent me something, but I didn't know where it was from. She had gotten an email that it's talked about increases.
Yeah, I actually was looking on the internet because our caterers are going up. We're signing the contracts for next year, and one went up 2% on their what they're going to be building us per meal, and the other one 3%. And so I had to give my bosses a reason why this was happening for signing the contract. So it's quite a few things that people are struggling with: shortages and transportation and labor costs. Inflation has also climbed up 8.3%. Cisco, one of the largest food distributors, showed food inflation of a 10.2% on its most recent quarterly report. There's been a significant cost increase on packaging needed for our meals. Corrugated cardboard has hit an all-time high. So food companies are incurring higher costs in boxing, canning, and packaging their product. This affects the 3-compartment Oliver trays. There's also been a spike in the price of polyethylene, which is used for milk jugs, vinegar bottles, PVC to make items such as our tamper-resistant lids. and it's also does affect the plastic that covers our meals. So part of that is why there's shortages on stuff. So not only are there shortages, the pricing is all going to go up. Across the board, suppliers have seen longer lead times because of lack of staffing, ingredient shortages, and unpredictability of trucking and container ship transport. Lead times have dragged out 8 to 12 weeks. I know we were doing freezer bids because we do pods for our pantries when we get delivered from TFAP. And one of the bids that we had went up $9,000 because of the foam that was needed to build the freezer. Also, everything is going up because of gas increases. But I know that we don't directly deal with a food supplier. We directly deal with our caterers. And I know Sue, who I invited to come, but it was a last-minute invite when I got the invite today. So she was probably busy, but we've been having a monthly meeting on things, and she said that is really hard. Like, of course, the Oliver trays are going to be hard getting. Some of the plastic is hard getting, and if they get something, it's not as good of a quality as we've gotten before. I know some of the plastic isn't sticking as well as they have in the past, so that's not good with keeping our temperatures into those containers either. So we're working together to try and see what we can do to solve those issues.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all those good stats. Thank you, appreciate that. Is there anything in the network food-wise that anybody's feel like, you know, I know we talked about poultry and different things like that, but vegetables or things that you might be seeing rise that people might need to make note of?
And Jean, I just wanted to piggyback off what Dawn just shared. Is with those shortages of Oliver trays and aluminum trays that people are starting to see, we actually had the county wondering about reusable trays today. So I guess I'm curious if anybody does have a backup, or what is your backup plan if you can't get your trays?
Good question. Thank you.
And I will, I'd love to read, we have a lot of comments in the chat again. So let me see, like Kathy, we sent out menu revisions with the drivers last week when one of the caterers needed to change the menu. Hang on. I let the consumers know about the possibility of supply and food shortages during the reassessments. Good, good. The more information they know, the better. What would be wonderful to know is about meatless options for needs. Okay, we have some sample 3 meals that we can share. Pam, oh, that's from Pam, thank you. Lynn, how many are offering lactose-free or soy milk as alternative for cow's milk? We started doing this recently, but due to cost getting an 8-ounce container, the caterer would like to discontinue the offering. Pouring from a 32-ounce container to reduce cost doesn't seem to be an option. Any thoughts out there about that? Lynn, again, our caterer provided the fall winter menu, which I haven't reviewed yet. I did notice the portion size of pudding and similar change from a half a cup to a third a cup servings related to food cost increased, and maybe that's all they could get, right? We have noticed the Oliver trays being made in China have been poorer in quality. Mel Ashland uses reusable trays. Thank you, Mel. We have reusable trays that we haven't used since COVID started, but we could if we had to. Yeah. And then Tammy, we use reusable trays for home delivered meals, but throw away for carryouts. Okay. Thank you for sharing all that. All right, we're caught up. Thank you.
This is Kathy and Rusk, and we have some reusable trays that we could use, and our jail has a bunch that they said that we could use if we needed to. Our problem is having the staff to wash the dishes, and that because we have the staff shortage. I think I'm reluctant to do that because it would tip us. It's hard enough to get them to do what we already have them doing, adding a bunch of dishes on top of the dishes that they're already doing in the kitchen and everything else. And the fact that those are in the home that may or may not have COVID and all of those types of things, I'm afraid I would lose more staff over it. So we've just ordered in bulk from from Oliver way earlier, and we just keep trying to stay way ahead so that hopefully we don't have that. But we do have that as a backup plan if we need to, but it is definitely not going to be my first choice because I believe I will lose staff over it.
Thanks, Kathy. Anybody have anything else that they want to kind of talk about or share, or maybe that we haven't hit on today? Any type of, things that are happening particularly to your program that you'd like to share with the network as you put these strategies together? Okay, Pam, Lori, yeah, hi Pam.
I just wanted to mention that as some of you guys were talking about the contract increases from your vendors next year, if any of you guys are contracting out with your managed care organizations or anything, this is going to be an increase. All of us are going to see food increases. So don't forget that. So even if you're using your 2020 meal cost tool that you just completed or finishing up, just maybe think about adding a little bit more, right, Jean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the ones that I've just kind of looked at, and some of you who I've met with, and we've gone over the meal cost tool, or we've kind of educated on that. Definitely, I think most of them have seen an increase, and I can't say that for everybody, but it'll be interesting to kind of get an idea of when they're all in. But definitely, I can't imagine how the expenses haven't gone up, especially with packaging and with food and transportation and mileage and all the things that have gone up in the since COVID started. So. Good point, Pam. I appreciate you bringing that up.
Even when Dawn talked about a 2 to 3% increase, boy, I think some people might see more than that, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
So some more comments in the chat. Our backup, Taylor says our backup is reusable trays. We have received comments on the Oliver trays being hard to open and the plastic sticking to the film. Kimberly said our 3-compartment metal takeout containers have changed. The box is lighter. We think it is less metal, and therefore we also think it is impacting our hot temperatures negatively. And that absolutely could be, Kimberly. It's hard to know with things changing so fast. Mel, not quite supply related, but considerations for staffing shortages to sustain nutrition programs. And that's, yeah. And it's really hard for a lot of people when I talk to directors. They're out there driving or they can't. Seems like it's harder to find site managers than it is drivers right now, unless if you have different, please let us know. I mean, volunteer shortage also, yes. I've heard of some counties trying to take the time because everybody's really busy, but to go out like personally to places and ask for volunteers, sometimes that personal invitation will net you a few more people. So kitchen and drivers, Kim says. Volunteer shortages and bus drivers, Tammy said. Tanya, volunteer shortage in Richland County. Missy says, I've been filling in as a site manager 3 days a week since July 1st.
Wow, thanks you guys. Thanks for sharing. We talk about food shortages, but Mel brings up a good point about staff shortages. So thank you very much. Is there anything else that anybody wants to share? Again, you can always contact one of us if something comes to your brain tonight at like 2 a.m. if you're up, you can't sleep. Make sure that you jot that down and let us know, because this is all the stuff that's going to help us really create these strategies. Again, we're not sure we can solve this, but we think that maybe as a team we can come up with some pretty good strategies and narrow down where these shortages and things are coming from, and maybe with the help of Justin from Sustainable Kitchens, maybe get some insight into how we can help you. So we've got about 7 minutes left. I just want to open it up. Pam, Lori, I don't know if you have anything else you'd like to conclude with.
I just had one final thought. First of all, I wish we had a shortage of stress for you all, but we don't. We have plenty of that to go around. But thank you all for working together regionally too and sharing, now that we know Kathy's got a stockpile of stuff. But no, seriously, it's good to know, who you can borrow from and work together on things. So thank you guys.
Don't you know I'm a hoarder?
And you have the room to hoard, so you carry on, but,
Oh, yeah, I talked to maintenance. I got a whole nother building if I need it.
that's great. So anyway, thank you guys. Thank you.
So kind of what our plan is the nutrition team after tonight or today, see, I'm way ahead of myself. After today, this afternoon's meeting is to take a little bit of time, digest what has been said, give you guys a little bit of time to maybe send some emails through if you think of some things in the next couple days or at any point, you know, please let us know. And then we'll probably reach back out to the network with some of the things that we came up with and what we found. And I'm not sure what the timeline would be on that. So we'll know more when we kind of read through the notes, but again, I want to just open up if there's anything anybody else wants to talk about. We got a couple minutes. Otherwise, again, I'm sure that Pam and Lori feel the same way. Thank you for everything that you do and for everything that you've been going through and all the things that have been asked of you. We greatly are proud of everybody and we appreciate everything that you do for our older adults in Wisconsin. So all of that does not go unnoticed. And we're so happy that I think we had 52 people join today. I thought that's at one point I looked. So I think, you know, these peer sharing calls are really awesome. And as always, if you have ideas or thoughts on what you'd like to see in a peer sharing call, you know, please let one of us know because we'll definitely get that scheduled and get your peers together. Anything else anybody has?
This is Tammy from Forest. I mean, I'm not necessarily seeing the shortages quite yet. I'm sure we will. However, I worry about the budgets in long term. All of our budgets, and not just Forest County's budget, but all of our budgets are going to bust through the roof. And what I'm fearful of is that we're going to have to start making cuts. And where do we make those cuts? I mean, if food prices keep going up, our vendors keep, you know, increasing cost, our caterers increase cost. Somewhere along the line, I mean, if we don't get the money from the top down, we're going to have to all start making cuts. And unfortunately, we're going to have to cut people that may not need it as much as someone else may need it. And and it's hard for us to have to sit here and make that decision. Who needs the meal more than this person or that person? Or what site needs to be cut days or whatever, because there's, you know, I mean, we have nutrition directors who are working meal sites, and how long can you do that plus your own job? And I mean, there's burnout even with us trying to, you know, compensate for the losses of staff and such. So, I mean, that's just something that needs to be made sure that the state knows and well as, you know, feds, because it's going to have to happen somewhere along the line. And we can't, I mean, granted, right now we have that extra money that we're grateful for, but it's not going to be here forever. And all of us along the line are going to have to start making cuts if something doesn't give.
Thanks, Tammy.
Yeah, Tammy, thank you.
I want to second that with her. That has been a discussion here in Rusk County, not one that I wanted to visit for too long. Like I get asked, do you have a plan if you can't get this spot filled? Because this summer, I have different ones that have been here long enough that they have PTO coming. Of course, they want to take it, and I had no one to fill it. And in order to retain them, I had to fill in for them. And so I was quite a bit in the kitchen this summer. And their response to me was, well, how long are you going to keep doing that before you start shortening days or something else? And I said, well, I'm just going to keep trying to find somebody right now. But, you know, which we did for now, but that's why I say I'm really reluctant to try to give them more dishes or anything else, because it could tip back again really, really easy. Yeah. I had that problem prior to COVID with having enough staff.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kathy. And we will put something in the notes about advocacy for the bill that is on the table to increase Older Americans Act appropriations across the board to help with the sustainability. So stay tuned for that. But I wanted to circle back to the chat. I just saw, and I think Dan is one of our guests, a caterer. He did ask a question.
Thank
you see it?
Yes.
It says, okay, so do you mind reading it?
I'm wondering what people use to keep food hot for home delivery when routes are long and the numbers of serving in a tote are sometimes 2 servings. That's a great question. And anybody, I know there's a lot of people out there who have worked on this. So is there anybody who wants to share or maybe put some answers in chat? And then Pam can, because I know our time's almost up, but put some answers in chat about Dan's question so that we could get back to Dan on that answer.
And PS, and related to that, we just found the heating instructions for the heat stones. So we will include those as well, because, you know, with all these things, you have the microcore instructions now. It's important to use them as, you know, the instructions state to use them. And we'll send out an updated hot food, hot, cold food, cold. But yes, please add your thoughts there. And Dan, thank you again.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. Good question.
And
And
I see on there too, some, a call subject could be burnout. Certainly that's something that's going around. And, would anybody want another call about temperatures and home delivered routes? If you do, let us know. Again, we did 2 earlier in the year, but if you want another one, in fall, please let us know.
And thank you, Mel, for that comment about the installation for hot packs and minimizing time. I think that might be into Dan's question, so. Okay, it's 3 o'clock.
Jean, Sarah is on. I don't know if she wants to say anything in the last couple seconds. I just noticed she's on. You want to say anything, Sarah?
Maybe she popped off to another meeting or something.
Okay.
Well, I just want to say thank you again to everybody. We want to respect, we always want to keep these to an hour, respect your time. We know you guys are busy. So again, send us some thoughts with upcoming peer sharing call ideas. We're happy. And again, great participation. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day, and we'll get this out to you as soon as we can. So thank you so much. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm.
Usually the turkey dumpling just fine. I don't have to.
How are you?
Or do we just throw it in there?
Oh, here's the trick.
That's on it? Oh.
That's how I do it.
Well, thank you.
So Mindy, what does a French pig say? Grum, grum. Okay, that's beef, not cow. I don't know how to say pig, but I know how to say pork. No, that's like a shell in the ocean. Conch shell. Okay. Probably is French, whatever. I mean, good something, right?
Thank you. Merci. Leslie's on break or is she downstairs?
I think she's on break.
Do you know if she's done with it downstairs?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go down then.
Oh. What? Oh, that's when I finish locking up, I have to take that to the nurse's station so that they have a way to get in because they're not supposed to come in through here. Okay, what was I going to do? I was going to see if my S drive is. No. No.
Is it hot in here?
It's you.
Okay.
But you also have been working.
When you going on break, I was like sweating. I was just sat in my car for 30 minutes and took a small nap. Because I woke up my alarm. Have you seen Judith in that red coat before?
Mm-hmm.
Where it like goes down to her knees? And it reminded me of Oompa Loompas.
Okay.
I'm gonna quit doing hair. Dan asked me to do hair today. It doesn't look that bad. That's the only real reason why I came here and just sleep.
for them.